Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Hamilton. I'm the founder of Hamilton Digital Studios, and today I want to talk about installing uh, Python IDEs to your computer. It's one of the sometimes this can be a little complicated if you're new to using development environments, especially if they're non-web based, like you just code in the browser and do your results. So I want to talk about a scalable way of installing a couple of IDEs. We're going to install both of Spider, and we're also going to install Juniper Labs. I will have separate videos talking about those IDEs in detail, but starting off, we just have to get everything onto the machine. And most of these commands should work whether you're using a Linux or Windows machine, but the tutorial is centered around Windows machines. This is what I'm using. When I use Linux machines, it's usually for when I'm at work, and a lot of times those machines are HPCs, which are Linux-based machines. So I use, remote access to get into it. So I know that there are some differences within the terminology of the terminal codes versus window codes. But in gist, you need to find that command that's similar in Linux to the one that I would be actually using um, in this tutorial for Windows machines. So let's get started. So step one I want to talk about is actually going to download some software that allow you to be able to install the IDEs. And there's two options you have. You have what I call there's many options. Let me rephrase that. The two options we're going to talk today is Miniconda and Anaconda. Those are the two I prefer to use when I'm doing personal work. So let's talk about it. Let me share my screen. First, you got to go Google those. If you go to Google and type in Miniconda, it'll bring up, this pops up for me. I click on the link, the conda.io link. So if you click on this Conda, go to Miniconda, click which version for what machine that you need to install and install it. You might be asking yourself, I don't know my bits. This is 64 and 32 bits. On the Windows machines, how you find that if you go to your Fire Explorer and then find where it shows you the PC name, right click on the PC name and then click the properties. When you click the properties, it'll give you information about your computer name, your processors, the installed RAM. But the biggest thing you come in here, you're looking for what it says system type. So what type of system do you have? Do you have a 64-bit operating system or do you have a 32-bit operating system? That's where you'll be able to locate that information. All right. So once you have that information, go ahead and download the right installation that you want and use the default settings. I think by default, it'll store the packages in your user folder. Like my user folder on this machine is called Mike, MICHA, because it's the default that came with it. But you need to make sure it's in your user folder. And I'll show you that folder soon. The other option, instead of downloading this, you can go to Anaconda. So I'm just changing Miniconda to Anaconda. I would type in Anaconda Python and download it for Anaconda distribution. What I like about Anaconda, it has some really cool GUI features if you're interested in those. But honestly, the Anaconda, what I call lake, data lake or integrated development environment, I guess is the best name for it. It has all these different types of environments plus more that's built in to the repository. So this is a really good, very common. And if you don't have high security things going on, you could probably utilize this in any form. Anaconda by default has its own language. It's kind of called the Conda language. These commands can be ran to be able to do different things. And this is what we're going to use to install what we need for our development environment. And it also have a navigator where you can navigate, but we're not going to use those GUIs. I'm just kind of talking through what the distribution offers. But if feel free to Google and spend some time going in depth into the Anaconda ecosystem, kind of what I'm talking about. All right, so you want this one, click this button, you download it. If you want it for Apple or Linux, you click those buttons, download it, and follow the steps. Now, once you have everything downloaded, you should be able to navigate File Explorer, go to My PC, this PC, go to the C drive, go to users, and under users, it should have been installed in your user profile. So on this machine, my user profile is, like I told you earlier, Mike Cha, M-I-C-H-A. Just didn't have enough space for the rest. You click here, and when I get here, I notice that I see you're looking for 2 folders, because if those folders are not there, the next step won't work. You're looking for the Anaconda folder, Anaconda 3 folder, which has all the core things you need for Anaconda. And then you have the Miniconda. For what I'm doing, I think you really only need 1 of these, but you know, if you had to choose one, I would prefer you choose Miniconda, because I think that's the one I prefer, but I think Anaconda works fine if you choose that one. All right, so if you're done that step, next thing we have to do is talk about some basic Linux commands. So again, there are some, you should get comfortable moving around your computer in the command window, because the command window, aka terminal, so command prompt in Windows, there's a terminal in Linux. It's the most common way to get, start, run, build everything for most software applications. Windows make it easy sometimes if you're just working on a Windows machine, but I would behoove you to get comfortable using the command window. So for instance, we'll talk about some of the base commands I think you should know. One of the things you have to do, if you start the command prompt, CMD should bring it up, then you click on the command prompt. And what mine do, I don't know what yours does, it's going to start me in my folder. So the root, the startup folder is the folder that your account is on. So like, so right now, if I hit dir, with dir, let you see all the files in that folder. These files, you see Miniconda, is the same files that was in that folder that I showed you when I navigated to the users folder. Like right now, I'm on my desktop, right? So this is actually my desktop. So let's see, what would I have to go? Let's do a practice. So I know if I were to go PC, users, myself, this is where it opens. But what if I want to get to my desktop? You'll notice that desktop should be a folder, because technically your desktop is just a folder. There it is. So when I click on desktop, this folder is empty. So you might ask, why my desktop folder empty, right? The reason is why is because I have how I have my computer set up. My computer is set up to be backed up by OneDrive. So for me, my desktop, my real desktop, is actually not in my user folder, because I keep nothing on my computer. Nothing is actually stored on my computer. My desktop is this folder. This folder will match what's going on my screen here. The difference is, I forgot the window I just went down. Oh yeah, the difference is that my desktop is actually on the cloud, not on this machine. Honestly, I'm a big fan of cloud storage, Microsoft, Google, whoever. But what I really like about it, if something would have happened to my machine, if it were to blow up right now, I don't lose an ounce of sleep, because all my files and data are not publicly stored on my machine. Another thing, if you wanted to say, come to this directory, one thing you can do, you go up here, you see the path. If you click, it'll give you the actual path to it. So the path to this desktop is users, Michael, OneDrive desktop, right? So let's pull up. There's 2 ways to do this. I'm gonna copy it, right? I can copy this and paste it using the CD command. But that's not the approach I'm going to use. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move to that folder. So the ways to move up and down directories is using the CD command, change directory. So if I do CD, I'll show you. So right now I'm in the Michael. Say if I wanted to go back a directory, I can do ... And now I'm in the users directory. So if I do dir, you'll notice that I just see those four folders that was in that upper level before this, if y'all remember earlier. If I want to move to a directory, I just CD, and I can just look at where I want to go. So I want to go to Mike. So I can say MICH, enter. Now you can see that I'm in my directory. What did we know? We said it was in OneDrive, right? If I hit O and hit tab, if it's the only thing with that, it'll try to fill in the words. OneDrive, and then I need a CD to desktop from here. So that's how I get to my desktop and to get all to my files here. All right, so the other way you can do this, so if I were to say CD and then dot means just go back one folder. So I want to go back 2 folders, / that takes me back. You see I was in users mic OneDrive desktop, now I'm back in users mic. All right, so we're back here. What if I want to do it in one click? I can go back to this folder I showed you earlier, click up here, hit Control C to copy, go back to the terminal, hit CD space, and then right click, and it will automatically paste that path. So if I hit enter now it instantly pops me to that directory. So I hit dir, everything's there. I hit dir, and if I want to go back to 2 directories, I could retype it again, but since I've typed it once, I can just hit the up and down keys. Up and down keys will let you see, up arrow and down arrow allow you to see what commands you've written before and after. So here, I can go through all the commands that I've written. So I just want to go back up to this command, hit enter, and that takes me back to my home screen. So to me, the directory and CD are important because those two will help you get from one place to the other without many issues. Now say you're doing a lot of stuff and you want to clear your text editor. This is something I do quite often. If you do CLS, now it'll empty it out because, you know, say you have something going on that you're reading from here based on what your code is doing, you might not want a whole bunch of information here. All right, so to run any of the conda information, you have to be in your directory. And every conda command, I would say look up conda cheat sheets so you can get familiar. But every conda command always start with the word conda, C-O-N-D-R. And to start it, you have to be in that home directory. So I want to show you a little trick that gets installed. So right now, we have to be in the home directory, right? To be able to activate conda. So if I type in conda info, if I run that line, it should pull this up. It'll show you the environments you have. You should see all this information, what platform I'm running, what conda is there, and so forth. So once you install conda, you should have the latest version of it, and you should be good to go. All right, now I'm gonna close this command prompt out to show you another thing. So this is how you get there from the command prompt. The cool thing about Windows, if you install Miniconda, if you type in Miniconda, you'll see that Anaconda has a prompt, and it says Miniconda 3. This prompt is the same as the normal command prompt, except it'll take you straight to the correct place on your computer where you can call those conda commands. Because right now, I'm assuming you're going to install them in your user folder. But say you didn't install them in your user folder. What you should do is type in mini, if you install Anaconda prompt, let that pop up. You click that, and then it'll bring up its own prompt. And this means that you're in the base class. So in Anaconda, you're gonna create what we call work environments. So base means that you don't have an environment. This is where all the code is, and then that's not very logical in which how we normally set up environments. First, you try to set up a space of the environment based on the project you're working on. So if you are watching this video and you are taking a class of mine, you should make the environment the name of the class -env. But a lot of times, if I was doing this for work, I might have environments based on the project that I'm working on. So I might have a project called thermal detector, and that's the name of thermal detector -environment. That's the environment of everything that I do in my Python code and work that's going to be located into that environment, and I'm going to stay there and work on that the entire time. That's what they're for. All right, so when you open up this prompt, one of the first things I tend to do, because I don't remember all the time, I tend to want to know what environments that are already present, right? So to see the environments, you type in conda info --envs. That command will bring up all the environments. So on my laptop, I have honestly just two. I have, well, there's two base environments. I'm in the mini conda environment because that's what I typed in, and that's the base. If I typed in Anaconda, I think I would have been in the Anaconda environment for the base. Now, right now I have mini conda, I have an Anaconda, and then I have one that I created. So for this example, we're gonna start like it was fresh. So for instance, say you are creating your environment for the first time, and you want to name it. I'm gonna call my environment class-env, but what you should call it is probably IS, whatever the course is. If this is an ANT course, I would say ISEN, the name of the course, the number for the course -environment. So you'll know that maybe you have environments different for different classes. You'll be able to do that. All right, so to create an environment, all we have to do is type conda create the name --name that's required. Now at this point, you can actually name the environment. I'm gonna say class, and I said class -env, and that's the name. Now I need to also add a Python directory for that class. For this one, I want Python to be 3.9. I'm just picking that arbitrarily, but you can create the Python environment that you want, the version of it. I don't know what the current version is at the moment, but I know 3.9 is a version of Python that's active at the moment. So you type the name Python equal to 3.9. And if I do this and hit enter, what it'll do, it'll start creating a Python version 3.9, which is what I want to use in this environment. All right. Also, it's telling you what it's going to be installed. It's going to always do this. It's going to tell you, do you want to proceed to install these packages? All these packages. Oh, hold up before I hit install. I'm going to say no. Well, no. This is right. Disregard. Don't say no. I forgot I did this all in one line. All right, so it's telling you that it's going to add 3.9. It's going to be located in this location, and it's asking, do you want to install? And what these base packages that are being installed is very important. So you get SQL, you get pip. Pip is a way to PIP is a way to install applications when you're not using Conda, if you're trying to do it within the IDE. But these are like the base requirements, and it's going to install the base version of Python into that folder. So when I hit Y, hit enter, there we go. It starts installing the latest versions of that IDE in there. So once you get that installed, if you go back and use that list thing again, so I said conda, what did I say? Info --envs. Now you'll see that I have a class, a base class, a class-e, which is what I name it in my personal Spider environment. That's the one I use when I'm just working on my own stuff. And honestly, it's called Spider, but it has more than just Spider in it. But anyway, that's a bad name. So next, we need to activate the environment. So you have to activate the environment to let your computer know, oh, this is the environment we're working in. And so anytime I do an install or somewhat, it will automatically go into that folder. Okay, so what I want you to do is to say conda activate, it's the name. Okay. And then once you activate it, to activate it, you have to give it the class name. So class, CLAS -env. Okay, and you'll notice this. First, you was in the base class, and it says users, conda, activate, class environments, right? Now it's saying that you're in the actual class environment. This is important because you need this active to make sure that you running anything that you installed in here and any of the dependencies for what's going on in this environment, you need to be in here to install them. If you don't do that, it's going to install anything that you add to the location wherever this star is. So if you are in the base class, it's going to add it to the base class. If you are in another class, it's going to add it to another class. So for instance, said it was in the base, we said we wanted to activate this class. If I press up a couple times to look at the info again, you'll notice that now the asterisk is in this class. All right, so we got into this point. So now we can actually start installing. I want you to install two things, because by installing these two things, I think you by default install a lot of the packages that you're going to need for a lot of the general package that you're going to need to do most programming assignments. One package is Spyder, which is an IDE that I'll make a video on to talk about. And another package is Juniper Labs. And I should just be able to conda install both. So what you type in, you'll say conda install, and you'll put them both. Spyder is spelled S-P-Y-D-E-R, and then Juniper Lab is J-U-P-Y-T-E-R -lab. So I want to install these two packages into this conda environment. I hit enter. What it's doing is saying it's collecting the packages for both Spyder and Juniper. I must install Juniper. It must not be called Juniper-lab. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna stop them separately. I'm not going to do changes. I'm gonna say conda install, because it couldn't find both, it's struggle. And why it's installing this one, I installed the other, S-P-Y-D-E-R. Just install Spyder. Make sure I don't have any issues installing it. You'll know if you have issues. It won't give you the yes to proceed. Yep. So you see how now it's telling me to proceed, and it's telling me these are all the things it's going to install, which is what I wanted. I'm gonna hit yes. So it's installing all the packages that it needs. Spyder. Give me a second to figure out how to install. While it's doing that, I want to pull up how to install Juniper, and this is what you would do: install Juniper Lab. Go here and right here, conda.install Juniper Lab. So that was a mistake I made. But since I came here, I'm going to just copy this. Take this back. Since it's done with that, I'm gonna right click here and paste it. Okay. I control V paste this time. And then I install this. This is going to give you a whole nother set of packages and libraries that you see up here. It'll check to see if it needs any of these, and then it'll install it in between. But see, Juniper is a web-based style way of programming Python. But one of the advantages of Juniper is that it could do a lot more. Like Spyder is a very good IDE that's really focused on like environment Python coding, where Juniper is a good IDE as well, but it has the ability to deal with a lot of formats of data in a very nice way. So when both of those are installed, I also want to ensure that some other things are installed. Also, make sure you conda install, because you're going to use these. Let me spell install. You're going to use, just make sure they're pandas, NumPy, which it should be installed. I prefer Seaborn. Pandas, NumPy, Seaborn. And I wonder if Matplotlib is installed. matplotlib. So just ensure that those 1, 2, 3 are installed. I'm not sure. Okay, so yep, you need to install these. Matplotlib wasn't installed. Seems like NumPy wasn't installed either. I'm glad I went on ahead and installed these. Okay. All right. And that finished. All right, so before we're done with this, I also we can see to update those. So you can update any package by using just the update command, conda update. So I want to conda update. Oh, upgrade, my bad. It's not update, it's upgrade. Spider. So what it's doing is just making sure that Spider is up to date. And then also, so yep, say yes. And then I also want to conda update GYP Juniper Lab. Say yes. It was an update to Juniper Lab. And installing. All right. So to make sure everything is there, you should be able to type in just Spider the word and hit enter. And an environment should load. So you should see image come up. And once it's all the way up, it should show you something like this. Disregard the code that's here. It should look like this in the console. I want to check something right quick. 3.9, which is what we installed. If we go to preferences, tools, preferences, interpreter, you'll notice that because you installed it through Conda, it will automatically say you got the right position where it knows that it's in this environment. All right, my bad. I'm wrong. If you notice that when it opened up Spider, it's still pointing to my old environment, which is in this folder. So the spider.environment/Python folder. This is not what you want. It's going to be, I think when it's just your first time using Spider, this is going to be this by default. So you want to change this to the right folder, given what we talked about. So you click the folder path, you go, and you don't have to do this one time unless you change it later. You go to where we talked earlier, where we have computer, users, my name, and then here, if you go down to, I think it's called environments. Let's make this bigger. I'm glad I looked at that. Yeah, go into Miniconda, click environments, and you'll see your two environments that I have. You should have one. You shouldn't have this environment. So you go to whatever you name this, the class environment, and then you'll go to this Python executable and say open. All right, and then hit apply, and then close it. All right, then what you want to do, this is called a kernel. You want to restart the kernel. Here, you restart the kernel, say yes, and when it restarts, it might give you an error, and that's what I want to see. Oh, it doesn't. So now you are ready to go. I'm just looking to see what it shows. Yep. So at this point, you're in the right folder. That's correct. You're in the right directory. So if I wanted to make sure we installed, so if I were to say import pandas, yep, as PD, it shows up. All right, it runs. And we'll talk about this ID later. I just wanted to make sure um, the general stuff worked. All right, so you can close this out. Don't save. And you'll notice when you come back here, this updates because this is what's running all the stuff for GUIs. The only other thing I want you to open up just to make sure it works, Juniper-Lab. This should start your server for your Juniper Lab. And on my computer, it works. It just popped up on my other screen. I'm gonna drag it over here so you can see what it's doing. And you see that this is what it looks like. And again, I will have a tutorial just about this. All of the Juniper Lab stuff. Another thing too, before I end this video, is that when you exit out of Juniper, unless you exit out of this server will still be running in the background. So to stop the server, if every time you use Juniper, you got to realize that it's running on a port, in a port location. It's not running as an application on your computer, which is one of the reasons why it's one of the most popular IDEs that's being used. If you hit Control C twice, Control and then CC, hold Control, press C, then press C one more time, you'll notice that it'll stop the server. The app is done. And once you do this, you can go ahead and close it out. It won't close out Juniper Labs, but once this is done, that means that this port has been released. There's no client-server relationship going on now. Therefore, you can truly close this out. So I hope that this was helpful. Now you should be able to at least get 2 integrated development environments installed. I've shown you how to get them running. I've shown you how to create an environment. I've shown you how to activate the environment and install different Python packages. I asked you to install Spyder, Juniper, Pandas, NumPy, Seaborn, and Matplotlib. I would consider those, when you're just getting out of the gate and start learning how to do this stuff, those are probably the most important packages that you should have installed going forward. And that's that. If you have any questions or concerns, please free to email me. If you're taking a course of mine, please feel free to email me at my college email address. And again, I hope you take care, and I'll provide another video later. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.